Welcome to the podcast. We talk about all the things that are hidden in the shadows. This is Isaac.
And this is Megan.
And on this episode that we said would be out last week is a new episode of the year. Hey, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
We have a reason why this episode is out, the first episode of the year versus last month. Or last year.
Yeah.
Whatever.
This episode took 2 years to get out.
Shut up.
I actually took a year. That's me with bad math. Anyways.
I was sick last week. Actually sick on Christmas time.
Yeah.
Which was...
Oh, and it was sucky because he had like 4 days off.
5.
And he couldn't enjoy them because he was battled with congestion.
Which you might hear me cough throughout the episode, but yeah, hopefully Megan can get it out. But yeah, I was sick, so we couldn't record anything because I sounded like shit, and I was coughing majority of the time. So
that gunk was stuck on his chest. Ew. Okay, go ahead.
All right, weirdo.
Sorry, it's the new year. I'm getting all like the butterflies, the weirdies, the.
So one cool thing, I guess you noticed, we have a new intro.
Yeah.
So. Enjoy that. New music and stuff like that we found. It gives a better vibe to what we plan to do as podcasts. So,
I think it gives a better. I think it sets the tone definitely for the year and like what we're going to trek through. Does that make sense? In the paranormal world. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Something that I'm picking on you on because I thought it was hilarious when I first saw it. I don't know if anyone's listened to an episode prior to this one called the Cheshire Demon, right? The Cheshire Cat Demon. When I looked on the episode to listen to it, it said Chester Demon, which at first thought came in my head is like Chester Bennington.
Oh my gosh.
Linkin Park, right? And I instantly got an image in my head and made me fucking laugh. I laughed for about 15 all day actually when I read that because I kept thinking about like investigators in a paranormal place going, who's anyone there? Crawling in my skin. What the fuck's going on? Right? All of a sudden you hear out of nowhere, shut up when I'm talking to you. I'm like, in the end, it doesn't even matter. I had to change it
because for whatever reason, I don't know why when I was doing like all the thumbnail editings and stuff like that for the episode, I put Chester Entity. And really and truly, like I'm a bad speller, and I just didn't know that Cheshire Cat, it's actually Cheshire Cat. Cheshire. Yeah, Cheshire. It would spell like Cheshire.
Yeah, whatever.
You know, making my own words here, I guess. Anyways, I don't know why I kept spelling it Chester.
Yeah, because that made me laugh because that's hilarious. Me thinking about a paranormal team encountering like a Chester Bennington demon. Not Chester Bennington, but Chester Bennington demon just singing Linkin Park lyrics while they're investigating.
Oh my gosh.
Hearing that and like a whisper goes, like, in the end, it doesn't even matter. Like, everyone's looking around like, what the hell's going on?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Typo on my part. And it was correct on the thumbnail, but like in the actual episode title, it was wrong. So I had to change it. And it would not change like for a good, like, I think I had to go in like 2 or 3 times. It wouldn't change. So it was like, yeah.
Anyway, on to today's episode. Were you still laughing about it? Yeah.
The way you played that out. Okay.
It's funny to me. I laughed about it for a whole day. Kept thinking about that.
I'm going to be laughing this whole episode. Thanks.
Yes. But today we're talking all about snow anomalies.
Yes.
So, and the paranormal.
Yeah, and I think we're going to also talk about a little bit about like the weather and could that influence the paranormal? Because I thought that maybe this was something that me and Isaac were just like totally out there. We were just pulling for an episode that we thought would be intriguing and kind of like a new kind of avenue to dive down, you know, when it comes to the paranormal. But apparently it is a major thing that people are researching if there is a uptick in paranormal activity due to certain weather situations like thunderstorms, hurricanes, massive snowstorms, things like that. Could that influence the paranormal? And then, of course, there's also like urban legends and certain entities that, come out during snowstorms or known for being around snow areas. So, or places that get a lot of snow.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first one that I thought was interesting to talk about was an urban legend from Japan. And this is about a snow woman or snow demon, they've even referred to her as. Her name is Yuki Onna. She's a popular figure in Japanese folklore and ghost stories. The name Yuki Onna translates to snow woman in English. According to the legend, Yuki Onna is a beautiful and mysterious spirit associated with winter and snowstorms. The backstory of Yuki Onna varies in different versions of the folklore, but there are some common elements. In many tales, Yuki Onna is depicted as a vengeful spirit or a supernatural being who appears during snowy nights. She is often described as a tall, pale woman with long black hair and wearing a white kimono. One version of the backstory suggests that Yuki Onna was once a human woman who died in the snow. Her spirit became trapped in the icy cold and transformed into a ghostly figure. Another version portrays Yuki Onna as a spirit who was born from the intense emotions of someone who died in the snow. Yuki Onna is known for her ability to control ice and snow, and she is known to be able to freeze people with her icy breath or touch, and she is often associated with bringing death or misfortune to those who encounter her. However, there are also stories where Yuki Onna shows mercy to those who treat her with kindness or spare their lives if they are promised to keep her existence a secret. Yuki Onna has been featured in various forms of Japanese literature, theater, and film, and her character has become a popular subject in horror movies and is often portrayed as a hauntingly beautiful but deadly figure. There was also another kind of like version that she actually came from the moon and she ventured to Earth during a snowy night and for some reason couldn't get back to the moon, so she's stuck on Earth kind of like going around. And it's like one of those things where like some people have like seen her, and on snowy nights and stuff like that. But I thought that was interesting. That was probably, other than a couple cryptids, I feel like that is the only like major urban legend that is straight up focused around snow. However, there was a specific area of the internet, of the forums, that you could actually tell your kind of like encounter. And this was just strictly in the UK area. And they had it broken down by different weather anomalies, like if it was during a thunderstorm or a windy night. And these were some of the ones that were shared, and I thought it was interesting. So this person wrote about a red-eyed sailor. This location was in Faversham or Kent in the UK, and it was at a place called Shipwrights Arms Public House. And the type of thing, it was a haunting manifestation, and it happens during cold winter nights. Apparently, the spirit had died in a shipping accident. The phantom sailor now appears on icy nights. His favorite trick is to open the front door and walk in, only to disappear moments later, leaving only a strange, disconcerting odor. I thought that was interesting.
It stinks.
Yeah. Apparently, in outer London and Enfield, Hadley Road, another haunting type manifestation, and the weather that this apparition spirit takes place in is cold and misty nights. And it's apparently an old woman who once lived along this stretch of road, was executed in 1622 for being a witch. On cold, misty nights, her ghostly form returns and walks the road. Interesting. It's interesting that it's only like they only see him in like wintry nights. I tend to think though a lot of the times the snow, because when you think about it, nobody wants to be out in the cold. It's rare. So when it snows, unless you're in a place like New York where like, or up, more up north that gets snow regularly. I remember when we had that really bad snowstorm, it was very quiet. Nobody was out. Desolate kind of, right? So I wonder if it's not the snow per se that amps up the activity, but you know, like when you're staying home alone and you don't hear things until nobody's home with you, and then you hear everything. I wonder if it's something like that. That hurricanes, and because right before a hurricane, I bet you there's an uptick in like paranormal activity just because it's so quiet. Like we can attest to that. But right before Hurricane Florence came, the whole town was silent. It was dead quiet. People had evacuated. Houses were empty. It was just quiet.
I can't really remember. All I remember is playing or watching. I forgot I was watching wrestling. I was on I was like, no.
Yeah, no. And even after, remember how quiet everything was? It was just, there's no power, so everything was just quiet.
You hear trees fall down like 2 blocks away.
Oh, that was the scariest thing. Scariest thing ever is when it's pitch black outside. You don't know where they're falling, and you hear big old trees just hit the ground.
Doom.
That was the scariest thing. Okay, so there's another apparition that is seen in the Buxhall, Suffolk. I hope I'm saying that right. British people are going to be like, you're not saying that.
I thought you were a British person.
No, I started. I felt like I was going to, but like...
Oh, that's not right at all.
Oh my God. But it takes place on a Rattles Den Road area. And this particular weather is frosty nights or when snow is on the ground in February. So this is the silhouette of a man in a long coat, which had been spotted walking along this road, carrying a lantern at waist height. The same witness reports his dog behaving strangely when walking past the woods close to Cockrell's Hall Drive. So that's interesting. So what makes the snow amp this up? There's a theory that anytime there's like thunderstorms or anything with a lot of water, because obviously water is a conduit with paranormal activity, that it amps everything up. And snow, obviously, once it melts, it becomes water and it's all around, just like rain or thunderstorms or anything like that. So who knows? That might be a thing. So this one's a little bit weird, but I mean, it says snowy nights. So but this is the Naked Lady Hamilton of Bothswarhue in Edinburgh.
A lot of these in England?
Edinburgh. Yeah, this is all England, which I thought was interesting. Like there's a whole page dedicated to weather type paranormal activity dedicated to the UK. But it's the Woodhouseley ruins and meadow on the outskirts of the city, and it's specifically on snowy nights. So this person said after her husband's castle was taken by force, well, not her husband's, but I guess the lady. Lady Hamilton was banished into the cold winter night without clothing. That is brutal. Needless to say, she froze to death soon after. Her body had been reported in the area, though it never leaves any prints in the fresh snow. Some say she holds the body of her dead child. So that's interesting. It's almost like some of these sound almost like residual. Like it's just kind of like maybe like, like almost like a clock when a clock strikes 12 and the cuckoo bird comes out. That maybe it's almost like residual, that it's not necessarily, it's just the time of the year, the snow.
I always wondered how we affect in our investigations residual energy, and how it feels, because most of the time I know when something's coming at me and I know when something's there, right? Like when it's stationary in place versus when it's coming at me, what it feels like. But I always wonder, am I pulling residual energy of dark energy out of a location? Like something that was just staying there, like a stain. Because they always talk about the stone tape theory or the wood tape theory, how something energy can almost embed themselves in earth, in land, anything that's like that. Because it can hold energy better than anything else. So yeah, cases like this happening during a snowstorm, while the energy is trapped in snow of just frozen water, and then like dissipates into the land.
And then apparently in Surrey on West Street, this is particularly wet winter nights. So
Surrey,
yeah, it's a Surrey. Farnham.
Is that where?
Surrey. No, this is the UK.
Oh.
So so there's a fast moving lady. She has appeared to be limping, and then she runs by witnesses at a rate of crazy speeds and then disappears into the doorway of a house that is along the street. The same street is also haunted by a black dog, which performs a similar action to that of the old woman. Which is interesting. That opens up another can of worms. Like, what is that? Is it just the...
I don't know.
Right? Isn't that weird? Have you ever caught, like, an entity running? I guess, like, when we see them dart, I guess maybe that is running. You know how, like, you see something at the corner of your eye and it's so fast, it's like it's there and gone?
Yeah, the stupid cat thing that ran between my legs and here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, one thing that was talked about, there's multiple different paranormal pages that talked about that maybe snow is more of a trigger object. Like, when the person died, that it was snow. It's something that they remember. And so, because you think about it, snow is distinctive. So, like, if you remember when you specifically died in the snow, I mean, you could say, oh, I died or I passed away on a sunny day. Well, the sunny day could be any day, but snow specifically gives a time period, you know? So, at least a time of the year. And so, could it work as a trigger object type situation?
Yeah, but also, you know what I think about? How many times have you seen, granted, I've been to a few funerals myself, but I thought to myself, how many funerals are held during the winter?
That is true.
Well, it used to be none at all because you couldn't dig to the ground because it was too hard. So most times they just left the bodies on ice, essentially, until the ground was warm enough for them to dig through it. So someone's body, kept above ground for months during the winter times, right?
But you think about it, back in the olden times, too, a lot of death occurred during winter because it was hard to grow crops. A lot of diseases, sickness spread during the winter.
And people would freeze to death outside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and when you think about it, like, obviously, in today's, like, society, majority of people have, like, a house or, like, heat of some sort of heat source, whether it be building a fire or whatever. But back in olden times, it was harder to stay warm and stuff like that. So winters were looked more as like a harsh time period. Now, in today's society, we have Christmas during the winter. We have New Year's parties. I mean, financially, it sucks sometimes, but, it's not looked at as being technically harsh like it would have been in settlement times and even further back.
Yeah.
So, connotation with the snow is different.
It just, as I said, it's a time of the period of year where, like I said, if you died and your body's still not put in the ground, you're lingering above. And sometimes that time period could keep you stuck there in the snow.
Exactly. That's crazy.
Da-da-da.
So there was another weird thing that I thought was interesting. Apparently, there were stories of phantom monks in Ware in the UK in Hertfordshire who had allegedly been heard chanting on the grounds of the Amwellbury house. And apparently they would hear this on the evening before snow had settled, according to an article by HiggyPop.com. Which I thought that's interesting, like the correlation.
You see Higgy Pop?
Higgy Pop. And apparently there's been documentation as well of a height in paranormal activity during snowstorms. So again, lies. The question, could weather affect the paranormal? What do you think? What's your opinions on it?
I don't know 100% sure think the weather paranormal as much as it would. The energy is there regardless. Now the weather could heighten the paranormal. Again, we've never really investigated in rain because majority of our investigations have been outside. We have investigated in the cold in the summertime. My earliest days investigating were during the cold. Yeah.
Yeah. When I think about it, a lot of our investigating happened during,
winter. Which I do experience a lot when we're out there. But in the summertime, same. But, I mean, it's also mosquitoes.
I would like to do it, I think, right before a hurricane. And see if, I don't know, because obviously the earth reacts, the birds, the best way to describe it is when a hurricane, especially when it's going to be gets ready to hit, there's an impending doom that starts in, and you can feel it, and, it gets to a point where there's no birds, no insects whatsoever. So I'm wondering if the energy, even on the ether, is changed when there's a disaster getting ready to happen.
We'll never know until it happens, but luckily we have plenty of opportunities here where there's hurricanes every single year.
Okay, so I have a weird story about seeing some lights during a snowstorm. So one winter night, a group of friends decided to go for a drive in a rural area known for its snowy landscapes. As they drove along a deserted road, a heavy snowstorm began to intensify. The visibility became poor and the road became treacherous to navigate. Suddenly, one of the friends noticed a faint glow in the distance. As they continued driving, the glow grew brighter and more distinct. It appeared to be a series of pulsating lights hovering just above the ground. The lights seemed to change color, shifting from blue to red to green. Intrigued and slightly unnerved, the group decided to pull over and investigate. They stepped out of the car and were immediately struck by the eerie silence of the snow-covered surroundings. The only sound was the wind. As they approached the lights, they noticed that the snow beneath them was untouched, as if the lights were floating just above the ground. The lights continued to pulsate and change colors, casting a weird glow on the snow. Suddenly, the lights shot up and into the sky with incredible speed, disappearing into the clouds. The friends were left in awe and wonder, unable to explain what they had just witnessed. The sighting of strange lights during a snowstorm left the group with a sense of mystery and intrigue. They couldn't help but wonder what the heck that they witnessed, if it was something paranormal or it was just a logical explanation for the lights.
Thing is, a lot of things up north.
Fireworks.
Oh, I was like, what the hell does that sound? It sounds like rain on a tin roof. A lot of things. I just got distracted. What I was going to say. A lot of alien sightings and stuff like that, lights and stuff like that, happen up north where it is snowy a lot, especially in the Canada areas, eh?
Yeah, and that again brings you back to the point of it being silence, desolate. Because I know even us, like when we go into rural areas, like in the forest and stuff like that. Granted, you hear like animals and stuff, but it's pretty quiet. And if you're quiet, you can definitely hear things. Definitely easier to hear, So
I've never experienced a blizzard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when the wind's blowing hard and it's snowing heavy at the same time, to a point where inches of snow are piling up. I never experienced that. Well, it's like super like negative like 20 and you got the wind blowing at you at the same time, the snow's coming down where you can't see shit. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine being out in that and then seeing something like a shadow figure standing next to a tree off in the distance?
Yeah.
Ah, shit. You can't run away. Not fast anyway, especially if you have snowshoes on. It's like...
Okay, so this next story takes place in the winter of 1998 in the northern part of the United States. And this happened while a truck driver was driving in a remote area, so he didn't actually have the specific location he was at. So it was the winter of 1988. A truck driver named John was making a long-haul trip through a remote area in the northern United States. He had been driving for hours, and the snowstorm that had been forecasted earlier in the day had finally arrived. The road was covered in a thick blanket of snow, and visibility was extremely poor. As John continued his journey, he noticed a figure standing on the side of the road up ahead. The figure appeared to be a woman, dressed in a tattered white dress with long flowy hair that was almost translucent against the snowy backdrop. She seemed to be waving her arms as if signaling for help. Concerned for the woman's safety, John slowed down and pulled over to offer assistance. But as he approached, the figure vanished into thin air. Confused and startled, John searched the area around him, but there was no sign of the woman, not even footprints. Shaken by the experience, John continued driving, his mind filled with questions as to what he had just witnessed. As the snowstorm intensified, John focused on navigating the treacherous road ahead, but the image of the mysterious woman stayed with him, haunting his thoughts. He couldn't help but wonder if he had encountered a spirit, perhaps a lost soul seeking help, or a warning. To this day, John recounts his encounter with the apparition during that snowstorm. Creepy. Mm-hmm. Could you imagine? And he was by himself, completely in an isolated area. That's one thing. I don't think I could ever do that job as a truck driver, especially Because my dad has some creepy stories too. I should probably bring him on one day, talk about his truck driver stories.
Truck driver stories.
Yeah. Yeah, he used to go all over the place. I think he even went into Canada. Yeah, so he has some weird stories, but...
What's interesting about the whole snow anomaly thing is when you did your remote viewing / channeling,
yeah,
it was at a place, an ether, that was snowy and wintry. Yeah. But then again, you were in Alaska, so...
Yeah, and that's the thing, is when I remote viewed that one time, and...
Which you can listen to in the Alaskan Triangle episode.
Yeah. It wasn't actually snowing in Alaska at the time, but for whatever reason, when I was remote viewing in, it showed snow.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is it was very desolate and quiet, and you think about it, in Alaska, there's a lot of stuff. And a lot of the year, a big part of the year, there is snow. So it's just interesting that, and you think about it, a lot of snow-covered places, up north in Canada and stuff like that. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff even out in the wild, like apparitions and stuff like that. And I would say that like a hitchhiking ghost during the snowstorms is like a big thing for some reason. There's a lot of stories about that, like seeing a figure as driving down the road and stuff like that. So I wonder if there's any, I didn't really find a specific one, but I wonder if there's any encounter stories of like a spirit luring somebody somewhere. Like you're driving and you see this figure and you turn and you go into a river or something. Like a more of a malicious spirit, but
yeah,
if there's anything like that.
I don't know. Probably.
Right?
Yeah.
It makes sense. And I don't know, it makes sense. Like I guess weather would have some sort of effect, because I remember there was a couple of times that I went out in not snowstorms, or I would have stories to talk about if it happened in a snowstorm. But thunderstorms, like, because in the summer and spring we get like really bad thunderstorms. I remember a couple of times I went out there and I've seen crazy stuff just driving. So
Come think of it, there was a couple of times, because when my work I do outside, and of course I work in the rain, because you still can take care of bugs in the rain. People don't believe me, but you can. But I'd be out there sometimes when it's heavily raining, and sometimes when I'm out there when it's raining in someone's backyard out in the middle of nowhere, I feel things. With my ability allows me to tell me, hey, something's around. I'm like, what? And reaching through the water is weird. It's like I'm getting consistently, like, it's easier to connect. Like, I easily feel deeper with, like, water in the air. So I guess it would heighten the senses of energy around during rain or even snow.
Yeah, because you think about it. There was one conversation that was taking place on a forum about, in places that get heavy amounts of rain or houses that are by rivers, stuff like that, is paranormal activity heightened? So I don't know. I would have to kind of like research a little bit about like different haunted locations that are by bodies of water. But if that's the case, we're literally right next to the Atlantic Ocean. So we should have, a lot of spirits and stuff like that are stuck. We do. So, deal
with them all the time.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm anyways. I don't know. Tonight is just, and no, I have not had anything to drink. I don't drink.
We both don't.
No, just we both have family histories that are not.
No, I have a liver that's bad.
Oh yeah, you do, yeah.
Not from drinking, from taking too much Tylenol. Because of my back. It hurt. I think it wraps us up for this episode.
Yeah. It's just an interesting concept to mull over, I guess. To kind of like...
Mull?
Isn't that how you would say?
Mull.
Mull.
Mull over.
Mull.
Mull.
Mull. What am I saying wrong?
You're saying it mall. Like going to shopping mall.
Mall.
Whatever you...
I don't know. But something to kind of like move around in your brain and think about, because...
You hear me say it all the time. How do you...
Mall.
Mole.
Mall.
Mull over.
Mull over.
Whatever.
Okay.
How do you have an accent?
Mall.
Mole.
Mall.
You're saying mall. Whatever. I'm not going to do this. End of the episode. People are like, what are they going about?
Well, that's like pattern. I can't say the other way to say it. Pattern.
What is wrong with you?
There's certain words. Pattern.
There's no area going in there. It's pattern, not pattern.
I don't know.
Whatever.
A list of many words, and you shouldn't be talking over there because you, Mr.
Oh, because I got one Italian word wrong.
Peony for penne.
Whatever.
And
I say it like how it's spelled.
And lentils or what now? Lentils. Say M&Ms.
M&Ms.
You're saying it a little bit better now, but you know we get yeah. But
stop. People don't want to hear this banter.
Okay.
And if you want to hear this banter in person, speaking of which, good segue for an ad. Not necessarily an ad, but up-and-coming event for everyone and anyone. If you want to make the drive into distance, we are going to do a live podcast from a local place in town called Pizza Bones, which is a adult arcade / restaurant.
Yeah, they have skateball.
Yeah, and a lot of other things. They invited us to do a live podcast from their location. They have a stage, kind of they use for karaoke and whatever artists to come play there. But so we're gonna do a live show from Pizza Bones, our first ever.
Yeah.
So, like we said, it's February 14th.
Valentine's Day.
Yes, or Single Awareness Day to the other people. If you want to come by Pizza Bones at 6 p.m. on February 14th, you can witness us in person for a good 4 hours.
Yeah. So we're going to be there 4 hours. We're basically going to be doing 2 episodes, a Q&A, and a meet and greet.
Well, one episode's going to be recorded. The other one is kind of just us talking about haunted locations within the area.
Yeah. So...
yeah, third hour is Q&A, and fourth is meet and greet. Kind of just bullshitting around.
Yeah.
Which I surmise that I'm probably going to clear some mind forests.
Yeah, if you want your mind clear, just, dinner and mind clearing.
Yeah. God, the things you laugh at. But also, they got good food and stuff like that. So you guys can come out, and I believe there is no fee. We're still understanding.
I don't think so. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to eat food, obviously you got to pay for shit. So.
Yeah.
Or you want to play some games. Yeah. We're not covering that tab.
Yeah. Yeah, their food is pretty good. Somebody that enjoys food like I do. What did we have? The burgers are good.
Yeah, and they have pizza as well. Obviously, the name. Pizza Bones.
Yeah, they have some cool stuff on their menu. We'll post where you could see their menu even on our Instagram. So head over to our Instagram if you want to see more in-depth detail. We'll have an in-depth posting.
Yeah, so come meet us in person if you want. No pressure.
We'll have some merch too.
Yes. So look forward to that. Along with what are we talking about next week?
Next week is about time and time warps. So weird things that have associated with time. Because we have even had weird stuff happen with time in investigations. Where it seems like hours have gone by. Or no, it's the opposite. It doesn't. It seems like we just got there, but hours have literally gone by. And kind of seeing the connection between that, but seeing things more on a heightened scale, time warps in actual everyday life and stuff like that. Time traveling, could that be a thing?
Well, because I had a dream one time, and I want to talk about that because it involves time, amongst other things. But I thought of it would be a good idea for an episode because of learning about the aspects of time and time-space and how it works with the fourth dimensional space and all that stuff.
This one's going to itch your brain because I started I've been researching and I've had to take breaks because I was like, dang, it's a brain itcher topic.
So look forward to that next week. And also a lot of new episodes and bonus episodes coming out next couple months, all leading up to our live episode at Pizza Bones that we were talking about.
Yeah.
But as always, guys, you can catch our social media at Hidden in the Shadows Podcast on Instagram, Hidden in the Shadows 6 on X, Hidden in the Shadows Podcast 2 on TikTok. Our links to all of social media, always you can listen to us at hiddenintheshadowspodcast.com. And as always, we'll catch your weirdos in the next one.
Yes.